After the body of a 14-year-old girl was found dismembered in the trunk of his Tesla, the internet went back through everything D4VD had ever posted, every tweet, every TikTok, every repost, every interview. And what they found stopped people cold. One post resurfaced showing a man chopping raw meat. D4VD had reposted it with the caption, "Me if I see her talk with other dudes." Another post, "Me after hearing about her past with other boys. I'm jealous and utterly disgusted by her actions." And then the one that broke the internet. A post that read, "Imagine we were two cannibals in the late 80s who randomly met and then we fell in love and tried to be better and start a life together. And then you died, and I ate you, bones and all." These posts were already out there, public, visible to millions of followers. Nobody flagged them. Nobody asked the next question. And then, after Celeste Rivas Hernandez was identified in that Tesla, someone did. But by then, it was too late. Welcome to Brian Records. If you're new here, subscribe right now. We go through the evidence the way it deserves to be gone through, carefully, factually, completely. Today, we are going inside every word David Anthony Burke ever said publicly. His interviews, his lyrics, his social media, his own explanations. Because he spoke constantly. He told us who he was in song lyrics. He told us in genius interviews. He told us in posts he later deleted. He even gave an interview to a music magazine just days after Celeste was allegedly killed inside his home. He was always speaking. The question this video answers is, what was he actually saying? And by the end of this, the title of that song is never going to sound the same again. Let us start with the song itself, because this is where everything begins. Romantic Homicide was released in July 2022. D4VD was 17 years old. He had recorded it in his sister's gaming closet on Apple earbuds. No studio, no label, no industry connections of any kind. Within weeks of release, it exploded on TikTok. By August 2022, Darkroom, Interscope Records, had signed him. The same label as Billie Eilish, the same label as Lady Gaga. 500 million streams, a record deal, international fame, before he turned 18. That is the version of this story everybody knows. Here is the version nobody examined closely enough. In November 2022, 4 months after the song dropped, D4VD sat down with Genius for a verified lyrics breakdown. This is one of the most watched interviews of his career. He was still 17. The world was falling in love with him. And he explained the lyrics line by line. The song opens, "I'm scared. It feels like you don't care." Breakup energy, relatable, fine. Then the first verse shifts to something different. "In the back of my mind you died, and I didn't even cry. No, not a single tear." Most listeners heard that as poetic distance, emotional detachment after a breakup, still relatable. But then the second verse changes one word that D4VD himself flagged as intentional. "In the back of my mind, I killed you, and I didn't even regret it. I can't believe I said it, but it's true. I hate you." Not "you died," "I killed you." He noticed that shift. He talked about it directly in the Genius interview. He said, "It's not like the thought of her being gone is something she did. It was something I decided to do." He chose that phrasing deliberately. He then explained the location of that act. He said, "It's all in the mind because that's the most secure place you can be." And then, if you can expel that thought from your mind, then everything else will come together. Pause on that last sentence. He is saying that eliminating someone, removing them completely from existence, is how everything else falls into place. He said that in 2022. In April 2025, according to prosecutors, he ordered an Uber to bring Celeste Rivas Hernandez to his Hollywood Hills home. She was 14 years old. She told her brother she was going to see a movie. She never came home. And within 48 hours, according to prosecution filings, David Burke was at a radio interview talking about his debut album. Everything else had, allegedly, fallen into place. The music video for Romantic Homicide has over 179 million views on YouTube. Watch it now with what you know. It opens at night. Lightning. A man dragging a suitcase down a sidewalk. Then a girl with dark, curly hair, appearing in flashes. They stand at opposite ends of a train track, facing each other. Then a knife. Then a funeral. The girl, lying down, covered in rose petals and splashes of blood. And D4VD standing over her body, singing to her, blindfolded. His mother watched that video before it was released. She said, and this is from a recorded interview, "David, this song is too violent. You talking about killing people in your music? No, not my son. You are not releasing this." He said, "I was like, wait, I might be onto something." He released it, and the world gave him everything for it. Now let us go to who David Anthony Burke actually was before any of this happened. He was born March 28, 2005, Queens, New York. His parents, Colleen and Dewood Burke, were devout Christians. His father was a litigator. His mother had been a teacher. From the outside, stable, educated, structured home. Inside that home, control was total. No pop music, no radio, no contemporary artists of any kind. Classical only. Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, gospel. He said in an interview, "Everything we played in the house music-wise was just Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, gospel, literally nothing else. It was all classical and gospel because my parents wanted me to be very intellectual." So here is a child growing up in Queens, New York, one of the most musically alive cities on the planet, with zero access to what every other kid around him is talking about. Music is how kids connect. It is social currency. He had none of it. So he found a workaround. He got himself an iPod Touch. He hid it. He snuck onto iTunes behind his parents' backs. He still has that iPod. He showed it in interviews. That behavior, hiding it, working around the rule instead of confronting it, matters. Not because it is unusual for a child to sneak music. It matters because of what it establishes about how he operates. Authority sets a boundary. He does not push back directly. He manages it through concealment. He finds the tunnel. That tunnel approach will appear in this story again and again. School was not better. He attended a private school in New York. He described it as a nightmare. Teachers picked on him. Students bullied him. His family moved to Houston, Texas. New city, new start. But he never found social footing anywhere he went. He described himself consistently as a people watcher, not a joiner, not someone who belonged to groups. He would sit alone in the cafeteria and study his classmates. He said, "I would just sit there and inspect them and write about them. I would bring these characters to life inspired by real people, different names, but they never knew." He is not trying to make friends, he is building files. He sees people not as connections to be made, but as subjects to be studied. He is 12 years old. Then came the decision that shaped everything that followed. His parents pulled him out of school. Full, computer-based homeschooling, at home, alone. Not the kind with group meetups and peer contact twice a week, completely isolated. No structured interaction with anyone his age. For 5 years, from 13 to 18. during the exact developmental window where humans learn who they are through other people. He described the first 2 years as tragic. He said, "Transitioning from public school to homeschooling was tragic. I was asking to go back to school almost every day." He thought he had friends from public school. He had a Snapchat streak going with dozens of people. The moment he disappeared into homeschooling, not one of them reached out. Not one. He said, "My Snap score is like 250,000. I was streaking everybody, and nobody hit me up. Nobody asked where I went. Made me question, did I really have friends?" He would post about this on TikTok years later. One video captioned, "What it felt like to be a homeschooled teen." Another, "Homeschool and being on social media 24/7 was not a good mix." He said, "My superpower is never being able to express my feelings properly because I was homeschooled and had no social life for 5 years." He said, "I was homeschooled all my life. I never got to experience any school dances." 5 years, no peer feedback, no reality checks from anyone his age, no mentor who intervened, no teacher who noticed. The need for connection does not disappear in isolation. It finds a different path. His path was Fortnite. He would join squad-filled lobbies, random strangers with headsets. He would let them talk, vent their problems, unload, and he would listen, absorb, analyze. He described it in an interview. "I'm on the game, I'm talking to all these random people, and they're talking to me about their life problems, and I'm living my life vicariously through them." Then he said something that tells you everything about his relationship with other people. He said, "I'm like, wow, this is really what humans are like. These are humans. Not, these are my friends. Not, these are people I relate to. These are humans." He is describing the species he is observing through a screen. That is not how a connected person talks. That is how someone talks when they have studied people their entire life but never actually joined them. But it got darker than that. During those same isolated years, David began watching gore content. He talked about this himself in his own Discord server to his own fans. He said he first encountered a cartel execution video at around 14 years old, accidentally. He watched it once, and then he kept watching. He described the progression himself. Shock first, then tolerance, then numbness. And then he said something that no 14-year-old should ever be articulating with this level of clarity. He said, "It got to the point where I don't even cringe when I see it anymore." And then he told his Discord community why he kept watching. He said, "I watch gore to disconnect the part of my brain that feels empathy to the wrong things." He is not watching because he enjoys it. He is not watching out of morbid curiosity. He is using violence as a training tool to reduce his own empathic response, on purpose, with stated intention, at 14 years old. He is engineering his emotional wiring. In the same years, he created an alter ego named Itami. Itami is the Japanese word for pain. He built an entire fictional character around it, planned a manga, an entire universe. The central character was a detective, by day solving murders, by night committing the murders he would solve in the morning. And then the specific detail that matters. He said across multiple interviews, "There was an evil version of myself, an agent of chaos, kind of like Fight Club with Tyler Durden. He would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as the detective." It is not a fictional character, it is him, an evil version of him, committing murders, getting away with them. He was building this in 5 years of complete isolation, with no one to push back, no peer to question it, no adult who intervened. He later described Itami as the one that is weaving his way into my relationships and ruining them, inducing trauma. The darkness had a name, it had a mythology, it had years of uninterrupted development. And then his mother suggested he make music. December 2021. His fortnight YouTube videos kept getting copyright struck for using other artists' music. His mother said, "Just write your own songs." He tried it. He had no musical ambition before that suggestion. What he had was 5 years of accumulated internal material with nowhere to go. The Itami fantasy, the poetry he had written since 5th grade, themes of isolation, romantic destruction, and duality. Music gave all of it a public form. He wrote Romantic Homicide in his sister's gaming closet. His mother said, "Do not release it." He released it. The world gave him 500 million streams, a record deal, and millions of fans who felt like he understood them. From a behavioral standpoint, this was the worst possible outcome for someone with his profile. Every dark theme he had ever developed was now being celebrated. He got no correction, he got validation. He constructed 4 public identities simultaneously. David the artist, the sensitive melodic performer, Itami, the blindfolded antagonist, a gaming persona, tech-savvy and streamer-coded, a social media persona, warm, goofy, relatable. His actual self was not among the 4. He had learned this skill in childhood. Authority is managed through concealment. Persona is protection. Wear the mask and the tunnel stays open. Now he had 4 masks and millions of people who thought they knew him. In January 2022, Celeste Abigail Rivas Hernandez was 11 years old. She was born September 7th, 2010, in Lake Elsinore, California. Her parents had emigrated from El Salvador. She had 2 older siblings. She attended Lakeland Village School. She was a child. That month, she met David Anthony Burke online, on Fortnite, the same platform where he had spent years listening to strangers through a headset, building his understanding of human psychology from the outside looking in. Her former teacher later told TMZ that Celeste told him she had met David on social media. At the time, David was 16, she was 11. The prosecution documents what followed as a gradual, staged process. He made her feel chosen, special, seen. He kept her inside his Discord server. He recorded a song with her name as the title, Celeste. The lyrics referenced the girl with his name tattooed on her chest. That lyric became real. Celeste had his name, David, tattooed on her left ring finger. They had matching tattoos on their right index fingers. The word on those tattoos, shh. The medical examiner confirmed the shh tattoo on Celeste's finger after her remains were identified. David has a matching one. Even the ink told her to be quiet. In February 2024, Celeste's parents discovered the relationship. They took her phone away. They filed a missing persons report with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Law enforcement contacted David directly. They told him she was a 13-year-old runaway. His response? He drove to Lake Elsinore. He found a classmate of Celeste's, a junior high student. He paid that student $1,000 cash in exchange for handing Celeste a new phone he had purchased, so they could keep talking. After law enforcement had personally informed him she was an underage runaway, There is a photo obtained by TMZ from September 2025 that shows D4VD near Celeste's home in Lake Elsinore, interacting with a man holding a brown bag. The exact context is unclear, but the timing of the image is consistent with this period. He tunneled around law enforcement the same way he tunneled around his parents with the iPod. Authority says, "Stop." He finds another way. Her parents reported her missing 3 times in the first months of 2024. February 15th, March 19th, April 5th. The final missing persons poster states she was last seen leaving her house at 9 p.m. on April 5th. Each time she came back. Because in her mind, David was the safe place. He had built that belief in her over 2 years of deliberate, staged attention. According to prosecution filings, by November 2023, when Celeste was 13 and David was 18, a physical relationship had begun. The filing states that text messages between them contain references to sex, pregnancy, abortion, and the use of Plan B, emergency contraceptive. Prosecutors also confirmed explicit photos that documented and corroborated their relationship. She was 13. Over the following year, she traveled with him: Las Vegas, London, Texas, where she reportedly met his family. She appeared in the background of his social posts, never tagged, never identifiable. Present, but deniable. His music about romantic obsession needed authenticity. She gave it. Without a single follower knowing who she was or how old she was. In January 2024, he did a Twitch stream. Celeste was on camera, wearing a hoodie and glasses. The chat noticed instantly. Comments filled the screen. "Pray for his career, chat. You're done, bro. Epstein list." David read them aloud. He turned to Celeste and said, "Are we done? Are we done?" She said, "We need to delete this." He told his mods to delete everything immediately. Delete the stream, delete the VODs, all of it. Then he turned to her and said, "I media trained you." She said, "No, you didn't." He said, "That's controversial," and ended the stream. He had coached a 13-year-old on how to protect his secret, how to stay silent, how to manage the public. The shh tattoo on both their fingers, that was not a coincidence, that was a policy. A private investigator hired by the owner of his Hollywood Hills rental property later found a digital camera inside the home. It contained photos of both D4VD and Celeste from late December 2024 and early January 2025. Significantly, D4VD had posted photos from what appeared to be the same camera to his ex account during that same period, captioned, "Took these pics," alongside a selfie of him wearing a camera of the matching model. He was documenting it. And then posting from the same device publicly. The evidence trail was there, in multiple places, for anyone who looked closely enough. By late 2024, Celeste began pushing back. In documented text messages, she wrote, "All we do is have and just hang out, man. I want more than that for myself." She had begun to understand the reality. She wanted a real relationship, a future, something that matched what she had believed was between them. What the prosecution argues is that David never intended any of that. She was not his girlfriend in any meaningful sense. She was controlled access, someone younger and more vulnerable who had no framework for what was appropriate, who had been carefully positioned to trust him above everyone else in her life. They broke up in November 2024, according to prosecution filings, but the texts continued, and prosecutors allege the physical relationship continued as well. Then came April 2025. April 18, 2025. David Anthony Burke performed at Coachella. Main stage, massive crowd, global live stream audience. His debut studio album, Withered, was 7 days from release. His Withered World Tour was booked for August. North America, then Europe. The biggest moment of his career was days away. Then, April 22, 2025. Celeste found out he had relationships with other women. Years of being told she had a future with him, years of being made to feel chosen, special, irreplaceable. And now this. She was devastated. And then she threatened him. The prosecution's filing describes text messages from that night showing Celeste's distress escalating. She told him she would expose everything. Their relationship, the sexual abuse, his relationship with a minor. She was going to end his career 3 days before Withered dropped. The prosecution filing states, knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career, as she had threatened, very soon after her arrival at his home, defendant stabbed the victim to death multiple times and stood by while she bled out. At approximately 8:40 p.m. on April 23rd, David Burke ordered an Uber. The Uber travelled to Lake Elsinore. It picked up Celeste. Her brother Matthew later told reporters she had texted him before she left. She said she was going to see a movie with David. She trusted him completely. She was excited. She arrived at his Hollywood Hills home just after 10 p.m. What happened inside that home is now documented in prosecution filings and a medical examiner's autopsy report that was sealed for months and finally released in April 2026. The autopsy identified 2 penetrating stab wounds. One to the upper abdomen, it penetrated her liver. One to the left chest, it damaged her ribs. Her tube top was cut in 3 places. She was 14 years old. And the prosecution alleges that David Burke stood in that home and watched her die. He did not call 911. At approximately 11:30 p.m. that night, he got into his car. He drove north on the 101 freeway towards Santa Barbara County. As he drove, he texted and called Celeste's phone repeatedly. Prosecutors characterize this as a deliberate, constructed alibi, a digital trail designed to suggest he was away from home trying to reach her, while her body was at his house. He returned home in the early hours of April 24th. What followed, according to prosecution filings, is documented in Amazon purchase records made under a false name. He ordered a shovel, 2 chainsaws, a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool. He placed her body in the inflatable pool to prevent her blood from reaching the garage floor. He used a chainsaw to remove her limbs. He placed her remains in 2 bags, a black body bag for the head and torso, a plastic garbage bag for her arms and legs. He put both bags in the front trunk of his Tesla Model X. Her left ring finger, the one with David tattooed on it, was amputated. It was not found in the car. Small blue plastic fragments from the inflatable pool were found embedded in her remains by the medical examiner. That is what the prosecution filed in court on April 29, 2026. Celeste's family attorney released a statement after those details were made public. He said, "There are no words to express the indescribable pain the family is experiencing right now. They still have bills to pay and jobs they go to every day. All they want is time to grieve and heal." The family said they would no longer make public statements themselves. They would let their attorney speak for them. Because the details being released publicly, one wave after another, were too much. The morning of April 24th, 2025, David Burke had a radio interview. He showed up. He sat in front of a microphone. He talked about his music, his album, his tour, his career. April 25, Withered released. He attended the album release party. He had recently given an interview to Songwriter Universe, an online music magazine, in April 2025. Prosecutors noted that in that interview he casually described a trip to London he had taken with 3 friends. One of those friends, prosecutors allege, was Celeste. He was describing her in an interview given days after she was allegedly killed in his home, describing a trip they had taken together, calling her a friend. He was speaking. He just knew exactly which words to use. In July 2025, according to prosecution documents, he allegedly ordered a burn cage, a device designed to incinerate material. He did not end up using it. On July 29, 2025, surveillance footage confirmed he drove his Tesla for the last time. He parked it on Bluebird Avenue in Hollywood Hills, approximately 400 feet from his home. He left for tour. The Tesla sat in the California sun for weeks. Neighbors eventually reported it abandoned. It was towed to a Hollywood tow yard on September 5, 2025. 3 days later, on September 8th, employees at the tow yard noticed the smell. They opened the front trunk. The body was discovered inside a black body bag covered in insects. The head and torso in one bag, the arms and legs in a separate plastic garbage bag underneath, severely decomposed. 1 day after what would have been Celeste's 15th birthday. September 7th, 2010. September 7th, 2025. She never made it. On September 16th, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner confirmed the identification. The remains found in the trunk of D4VD's Tesla were Celeste Abigail Rivas Hernandez. What happened online in the hours and days after that identification was unlike anything the internet had seen around a music case. Fans went through every post he had ever made, every repost, every comment, every TikTok, every tweet. The cannibal post surfaced, the meat-chopping clip with the caption about seeing her with other guys, the jealousy post about her past. And then someone noticed something else. After the body was identified, someone spotted D4VD online, on Fortnite, on Discord, 107 kills, a score of 4,059. Playing video games while the internet was processing the identification of a 14-year-old girl found dismembered in his car. One person posted, "D4VD right now, try to explain the situation? Nah, I'ma run some reload." Someone else, "Bro is trying to finish his battle pass." Then came one more detail. A TikTok video had gone up as part of a theories roundup, a photo of D4VD with a fan from 2023. Someone claimed that D4VD commented on that video with a single word, "Okay," and then deleted it. Screenshots circulated on Reddit and Twitter. Some questioned whether they were doctored. Others said they were certain it was real. His management had released a single statement saying he was fully cooperating with the investigation. That was the only official communication anyone got, while he, allegedly, was running reload. On April 16, 2026, LAPD officers went to a house on Marmont Avenue in Hollywood. They battered down the door. They arrested David Anthony Burke. He was 21 years old. The charges: first-degree murder, continuous sexual abuse of a child under the age of 14, unlawful mutilation of human remains. And then the special circumstances, lying in wait. Prosecutors said this allegation stems from the fact that he invited Celeste to come to his home before killing her. He set the trap and waited. Murder for financial gain. He eliminated the threat to his music career. Murder of a witness. Celeste was the central witness in the sexual abuse investigation against him. All three special circumstances make David Anthony Burke eligible for the death penalty. District Attorney Nathan Hochman stood at a podium and addressed the public directly. He said, "A parent's nightmare is a situation where your daughter goes out one night and never comes back." He said, "Celeste was just a child, under 14 years old, when David Burke allegedly engaged in repeated lewd and lascivious sexual relations with her." He said, "When she threatened to expose his criminal conduct and devastate his musical career, Burke allegedly murdered her, cut up her body and stuffed her body in 2 bags placed in the front trunk of his car. There, the dismembered body sat for over 4 months, decomposing until it was found at a tow yard. This horrific and gruesome murder is shocking and appalling." Then investigators revealed what they had found on his iCloud account, a significant amount of child pornography. His iCloud holds 8 terabytes of data. As of April 2026, prosecutors had only reviewed 1 terabyte of it. They say they have 40 terabytes of total evidence in this case, 40 terabytes. On April 20th, 2026, Burke appeared in court. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. He is being held without bail at the Los Angeles County Men's Central Jail. His defense attorneys released a statement. "Let us be clear. The actual evidence in this case will show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and he was not the cause of her death." The preliminary hearing before Judge Charlene Olmedo is scheduled for June 29, 2026. It is expected to run approximately 5 days. At the end of it, a judge will determine whether there is sufficient evidence to send this case to full trial. Another status conference is set for June 17. The defense requested more time to review the prosecution's evidence. 40 terabytes is a lot to review. Now go back to those words one more time. The Genius interview, November 2022. 17 years old. It's all in the mind, because that's the most secure place you can be. He told us where he felt safest, inside his own head, where the act existed only for him, where no one else could access it. If you can expel that thought from your mind, then everything else will come together. He told us that removal is resolution. It was something I decided to do. He told us it was a choice, deliberate, owned. The Atwood magazine interview published around his album release in April 2025. When you view love, it's all ups and downs. If it's all straight, that means you're dead. And about the final song on Withered, a track called Afterlife, he said, "It's kind of like a send-off to me instead of the actual relationship or lover, the closing of a chapter." He published those words with Celeste, allegedly, in 2 bags in the trunk of his Tesla. He called it the closing of a chapter. The Songwriter Universe interview, April 2025, days after the alleged murder. He described a trip to London with 3 friends. One of those friends, according to prosecutors, was Celeste Rivas Hernandez. He spoke. Every time he spoke. We just did not hear what he was saying. The comments section under Romantic Homicide on YouTube tells you exactly how the world is sitting with this now. Someone wrote, "This song couldn't have aged any worse." Someone else wrote, "Celeste Rivas Hernandez May you live forever, beautiful girl. Such a young soul. I am so sorry your story ended like this. You did not deserve this. Millions of people who connected to that song, who cried to it, who put it in their breakup playlists, are now asking themselves a question they do not know how to answer. What exactly were they connecting to? Celeste Abigail Rivas Hernandez was born September 7th, 2010. Her parents came to this country from El Salvador to build something better for their children. She had 2 older siblings. She went to school. She had a community. She had a whole life in front of her. She texted her brother the night she died. She told him she was going to see a movie. She walked into a Hollywood Hills home, trusting the person inside. She did not walk out. Her community held vigils for her. Her funeral was October 7, 2025. The community of Lake Elsinore filled the space. Her mother stood outside the courthouse in April 2026, after Burke was arraigned, and said, "I want justice for my daughter. I will not rest until everyone responsible is held accountable." Her family attorney later said they would not be making further public statements because the details being released in court were too painful to process publicly in real time. They are still paying their bills, still going to work, still waking up every morning without her. The preliminary hearing begins June 29, 2026. 5 days. A judge will decide if this goes to trial. The prosecution has 40 terabytes of evidence. The defense says the evidence will show he did not do this. David Anthony Burke has pleaded not guilty. That is a legal fact. This case has not been decided in court. He is innocent until proven otherwise. But a 14-year-old girl is gone, and every word he ever said publicly is now on record. The song about deciding to kill someone you love, the posts about cannibalism and chopping meat, the shh tattoo on a miner's finger, the interview days after she was allegedly killed, describing trips with his friends. He spoke constantly. He told us exactly who he was. The only question that remains is one for all of us who listened to that song and called it beautiful. Why was it so easy to hear the words and not hear what they meant? This case will continue to develop. The June 29th preliminary hearing is the next major date. When new evidence becomes public, this channel will be here, going through it the way it deserves to be gone through. Carefully, factually, completely. If you are not subscribed, subscribe now. Hit the bell. Because when this case moves, you need to already be here. Rest in peace, Celeste Rivas Hernandez.